Thanks to everybody for coming. What I'm going to do is take a few minutes now and read a portion of the first chapter of the trust. I can kind of do this and not give away anything that's going to happen in there, but it'll introduce you to some of the characters. So thanks for having me, and let me read a few passages from the trust. Chapter 1. It's a simple question, Mr. Parks. Tell me how your name came to be in this will, he said. I'll say it one more time. I had no idea, Mr. Thomason, and I think it's time you leave my office, I said. That's how my relationship with Stephen Thomason started. Stephen Thomason walked into my office for the first time on a day when my secretary had decided her day would be better spent elsewhere. In fact, in retrospect, I'm quite sure it was a day that I felt could have been spent better elsewhere. The beach, a bar, or actually anywhere other than my office. It was on this day that Stephen Thomason chose to walk into my office, without an appointment, I should add. My general rule was that I don't meet with unscheduled, unannounced people who just stop by. My thought is always that if something is important enough to go see an attorney, then it's important enough to pick up the phone and make an appointment. However, this concept, simple as I thought it was, apparently eluded Thomason. Given that I was alone in my office on the day he decided to insert himself into my life, dressed for the gym, and facing a desk already full of plenty of other things I could be doing, I really had no desire to deal with a walk-in. After all, I didn't run a beauty salon. So it was with no surprise that when I heard the office door open, I cursed under my breath, rolled my eyes before I walked down to the lobby to see what surprise awaited me. There I found a man who looked to be about 60 had made himself at home in my lobby. He was dressed casually, in a personally tailored way. Pressed khakis, a pale blue Oxford button-down, and lace-up toe-cap shoes. He had an aura of confidence and sophistication about him that was accentuated by his full head of gray hair and a rugged complexion. He sat with his legs crossed. I looked at him a moment and realized that while the chair he was in was a garden variety waiting room chair, the manner in which he was sitting in it made it look as if it had been custom built for him. He was reading a newspaper, a steaming cup of coffee to his side, a briefcase at his feet. I was momentarily taken aback by his appearance, as most people who simply arrived at my office didn't look quite so refined. I glanced down at my t-shirt and my shorts and put on a smile. Hello, may I help you? He raised his eyes from his paper and looked over the reading glasses perched on the end of his nose. He studied me from head to toe and then back again before locking my stare. A quick chill started down my back. I guess my wardrobe justified the added scrutiny. Noah Parks, he said. I glanced over my shoulder, my eyes falling on a sign to the side of the receptionist window that read, Noah R. Parks, attorney at law. I turned my gaze back to him. Yes, and you would be, I said. Ignoring my question, he put down the paper. Attorney Noah Parks from Myrtle Beach. Now this was interesting. It was not often that I found myself both perturbed and curious. This was certainly an exception to the rule, as both of these sensations were growing by the moment. Yes, and generally yes, I said. He contemplated me for a moment more, allowing the silence to linger just long enough to make me notice, folded his newspaper and stood. He brushed his pants and spoke again. If there's somewhere we could sit and speak, there's a matter at hand with which I require your assistance. Brash. I forgot to mention brash, another characteristic my guest exuded. I was still perturbed, but the curiousness I was feeling had started to change to intrigue as the encounter was shaping up to be at least potentially a bit out of the ordinary. I had found that sometimes out of the ordinary, in addition to occasionally being interesting, could also be profitable. I wasn't expecting anything earth-shattering, but I decided to go with it and see what this man had to say. Certainly, but I didn't catch the answer to my question. He paused in silence for another long moment. Stephen Thomason, and if you don't mind, he said as he looked back toward my conference room, we have a lot to cover. I waited another moment to see if he would finally offer his hand, but as the moment stretched thin, I stepped to the side around him and walked towards my conference room, still without a handshake from my guest. He followed. All right, thank you all so very, very much. We can talk about any questions you have.